your soul is dog.
That's right.
You're an emotional fucking.
That's right.
I don't know any more than what I'm telling you, other than I lie. I flat out freaking lie.
That's right. It's time for Rush Limbaugh's Lie of the Day.
Every single thing about you is ugly.
Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon.com. Amazon.com has never made very much money. It's had a long history of having losing quarters, and its profits are never very profitable. People keep buying its stock. They keep talking about the potential that it has. And the guy that owns it, I say owns it, I guess he owns the controlling interest in it, Jeff Bezos, is a billionaire, runs a not-so-profitable business, but he's a billionaire. He's like Donald Trump. Donald Trump had a gambling casino go broke. How does a gambling casino go broke? A gambling casino that's a license to print money. Donald Trump had a gambling casino in Atlantic City that went broke. Donald Trump didn't go broke. Well, that's capitalism. That's high-end capitalism, folks. The business goes broke. The guys that invest in the business don't. Talking about, I'm risking my money. They're not risking their money. They make money. They make money whether the company's making money or whether the company's losing money. At any rate, Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post. He bought the Washington Post, and so the parent company is going to change its name. That's part of the deal. It's got to change its name to something else so that Jeff Bezos can now run the Washington Post and try and turn it around. Our friend, Rush Limbaugh, spent a good portion of yesterday talking all about this deal. He is consumed with this Jeff Bezos Washington Post deal. He was so consumed he spent the third hour yesterday talking all about it to the exclusion of taking phone calls. His third hour usually spends most of the third hour on the phone with people. Not yesterday. He wanted to talk about Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post and the business of journalism. Let's listen to some of what he had to say.
That's the hope. We need an economic model. We need somebody who has the deep pockets to sustain great reporting. That's what's been lacking.
Need the deep pockets to sustain great reporting. It's a charity. It's exactly. He wants somebody to run the New York or the Washington Post as a charity. Just throw money at it. Give money to it for great reporting.
That voice, by the way, was Carl Bernstein. Carl Bernstein is looking forward to the big Bezos move because apparently Bezos has the money. And Bezos has shown with Amazon that never seems to make a lot of money, but Bezos invests lots of money in new infrastructure, new products, and new product development. And Bernstein thinks that Bezos is going to invest lots of money into journalism. Rush Limbaugh views journalism as charity. These guys, they just want to get paid whether their product sells or not. Right? Because, listen, it's all about making money. Why doesn't the Washington Post get into the pornography business? And by the way, the pornography business is suffering, and it's suffering for the same reason the newspapers are suffering. The internet. But we'll get to that in just a minute.
The Washington Post business model is ours. You sell advertising. Now, in order to do that, it's got to work for the people that buy it. And it's not working for people that buy newspaper advertising. It's not working anymore. Why? We're not losing money here at EIB. We're thriving. We are continuing to grow. We have the same business model.
There is no EIB network. EIB network is not an entity which can profit. There is no LLC called the EIB Network. There is no partnership called the EIB Network. There is no corporation called the EIB Network, or the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, or the Excellence in Broadcasting Corporation, or any other such variation on that name. There is no Excellence in Broadcasting Network other than as a brand name. Other than as a fictitious name, as an alias for who? Rush Limbaugh. So when he says we're thriving here at the EIB Network, I don't know what he's talking about. Is Rush Limbaugh thriving? Rush Limbaugh is basically a paid employee. Rush Limbaugh is, he is paid $35 million a year. That's what he gets paid. He gets paid $35 million a year, whether he sells any advertising or not. He has a contract with the people who sell the business unit that Rush Limbaugh works for is called Clear Channel Communications. San Antonio Express News reported that the Clear Channel Communications lost $424 million in 2012. $424 million losses. I'm not sure exactly why Rush Limbaugh says that he's thriving, unless he's talking about his own personal salary. The third falsehood was that he uses the same business model as the Washington Post. Not quite. Yes, they both sell advertising. Yes, they both sell advertising, but that's like saying that the local car dealer sells cars and Ford Motor Company sells cars, so they have the same business model. Not quite. Ford Motor Company sells cars to the local car dealer, and the local car dealer sells them to you. And those are a little bit different game. Yes, he sells advertising, just like the Washington Post, just like the New York Times, just like NBC News. But here's the difference. Rush Limbaugh doesn't have any costs. Rush Limbaugh walks into his studio. I mean, he has some costs. I mean, yes, he has to turn on the lights. Right? He's got a big neon sign behind him that says EIB. It's got his signature. It's a neon sign with Rush Limbaugh's signature. And he lights that baby up, and I'm sure that probably costs him maybe $1 a day to run that thing, if that. But his equipment probably sucks up a little bit of electric power, and he's got to pay people. I don't know if you've ever seen his stack of stuff that he prepares from, but he's got a fair number of sources of information for things that he can choose to talk about, and somebody has got to assemble those things. And if it's not him, and it probably isn't, if he's not assembling them, he's paying somebody. Somebody's running his board and somebody's doing some things. He's got max 2-3 employees. That's what he's got. I mean, he's always talking about, they talk about job creators. Rush Limbaugh makes $35 million a year. How many jobs do you create every year for the $35 million you get paid? There's a question for him. Rush Limbaugh does not have to send reporters over to Benghazi to find out what happened. Rush Limbaugh there is no Rush Limbaugh. There's no EIB Network reporter who is a White House correspondent. There is no EIB reporter working Capitol Hill. There is no EIB reporter on the campaign trail during election season. There is no EIB reporter on Wall Street reporting business news. There is no EIB reporter traveling around the country following stories, breaking news as they happen. There is no EIB reporter anywhere. Rush Limbaugh does not have to pay the salaries of those reporters. He does not have to pay the travel expenses of those reporters. He does not have to pay their traveling expenses. He doesn't have to pay for their hotel rooms when they travel. He does not have to maintain a staff of reporters and editors and writers. This is what the journalist business model is, that we go find out what's going on in the world. We put it into a newspaper and we sell it to you, and the demand for it, your demand to know what's going on, is why you buy our paper. Except that something happened, a funny thing happened in the last 10 or 15 or 20 years. And that funny thing that happened was called the internet. People can get the news on the internet. They don't have to buy the paper anymore. They get the news on the internet, and when they get the news on the internet, they're not seeing the advertising anymore. The advertising is not being viewed. That's why it's not working. And why is Rush Limbaugh profiting? Assuming that he is. I don't know that he is. I mean, he is personally profiting, but I don't know that his show is profiting. But assuming that it's profiting, why is it profiting? Rush Limbaugh has none of the expenses of producing journalism. Rush Limbaugh has none of the expenses of finding out what's going on. Rush Limbaugh takes, are you ready? Get ready. Rush Limbaugh is one of the beneficiaries of that charity. That's right. Remember he said that? It's charity. They just want charity. They want to be given charity for going out and finding out what's going on. Well, guess what? They're going out finding out what's going on and giving it to you. How do you know what's going on? Every day, Rush Limbaugh reports news stories that appear in the Washington Post and the Los Angeles Times and the New York Times and CNN and NBC. He reports it all the time. He's got Andrea Mitchell, who he imitates badly. He puts her on. He plays her talking. Somebody has to pay Andrea Mitchell to do her job. Somebody has to pay Brian Williams to do his job. Somebody has to pay Carl Bernstein to do his job. Rush Limbaugh's not one of those people. But Rush Limbaugh will cheerfully accept the charity that he gets from the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Los Angeles Times and CNN. He will cheerfully take for free the news and information that he gets from these people and use it to make his $36 million a year. That's his business model. And he wants to tell you that these people are somehow or another spoiled. They don't understand business. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Limbaugh. Why don't we just let the news business dry up and blow away? Let's don't have any fresh information about what's going on in the world, and let's see how long you stay on the air. Let's see how long anybody bothers to listen to you, because every one of your conservative listeners has one thing and one thing that they come to you for. They want you to tell them what the newspaper said, and then they want you to tell them what parts of it to believe. That's Rush Limbaugh's business model. I'm Joe Lyles. We'll see you tomorrow.
Your soul is gone.
The Rush Limbaugh Lie of the Day, 5 days a week at JoeLylesRadio.com.
Every single fucking thing about you is wrong.